Hello, good day, my dear students, and also to those hard coders right there. So I am here at IT department, so Arteche, together with our program head. Where's the program?
Hi!
Sorry, Emil. You can also subscribe to his channel. What was your channel, sir?
Hi guys, please subscribe my YouTube channel, Emiliano Borata. And please don't forget also to subscribe the YouTube channel of Sir Mark Claros, which is Hard Code.
No, it's not.
Hard. Code it hard, I mean. For more latest video about the programming.
Alright.
Bye!
Thank you, sir, for So this video is exclusive for third year student who requested to create a video on how to get data from database and insert that to a list view, or specifically populating list view by data from database. Okay, so let's start.
Live life golden, yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see it shine, 'cause we're golden.
Okay, so let's start new project for this from the scratch. Okay, so first you make sure that you have your sump up and running. So click those Apache and MySQL, start, and then let's click the admin to navigate our server. We will check what specific database that we are going to use as an example for this video. Okay, so let's wait for the admin, for the server to load. It will take some time because I have lots of files. Okay, so here in DB, let us use the database E-class. Okay, so we have table students and table subjects. So we will use this table subjects, and we will try to get all this data, ID and description, to our list view. Okay, so let's go back to our C# and create project for this. So new project again. Do not forget to rename. So I'm gonna name this database to list view. Alright, now let's wait for it. Okay, so I'm gonna speed up. So I'm gonna assume that you already know how to add classes and create class, and to create a class for database operations. Okay, so Control Shift A, class, and then make it sure to rename your project, your class, database operation. And then I'm also assuming that you already know how to add reference for MySQL. Okay, so right click that, add reference. Again, Solution Explorer, right click that reference, and then here in the extension you will browse, we will navigate the MySQL data, click that OK. Alright, so that means we are now allowed to import our MySQL data, MySQL client, for us to have an access to MySQL variables. Okay, MySQL data variables, data types. Okay, public static MySQL connection. I'm gonna name this con new MySQL connection, and then inside the parentheses, this will be our parameters. Server is equals to localhost, since we are just using our localhost. Next would be our database, so make it sure you have your database name. We will be using the DBE class, making sure that it is correct. Oopsie. what happened. Okay, localhost database should be db e-class. Alright, so for the user it's default root. Now since we have the connection, we will now add another variable for this is preparation. MySQL command. This will be used for putting some syntax, MySQL syntax. Okay, so MySQL also for getting data, we will need data reader. I'm gonna name it dr. Okay, so we're done with the variables. So now since we have all of that, we are going to make a function called open connection. This is to open our connection, because every time we have our database operation, we need to open and close our connection. So to make it easier, we'll just have to create a function for that, utilizing OOP, of course. Con open, right? Then the power of copy paste, but make it sure you are renaming, changing all those variable names to prevent bugs. So this will be close. Now since we already have the open and close connection, we will create a function for the getting data syntax. Okay, so what we are going to do for the syntax is this: select asterisk from table subject. That means I'm going to get all the data, so all the columns from my table subjects. That means I'm going to get all of this data. Okay, so to do that, first again I need to create a function for getting data. So public static MySQL data reader. I'm gonna name this get data. Okay, so since our return type is not void, that means it will be expecting some return. We need to return something that is MySQL data reader type of data. Okay, so return, since we already declare some variables right here, so we will be using that to get rid of this error. Okay, return dr. Okay, so that means though we don't have an error, it doesn't mean that we are done. Okay, we're not done yet. We don't have the syntax for getting data. So to do the syntax, we will need to initialize our CD that we have been created right here, and we need to instantiate, okay, our CD, the MySQL command, and then this is 80%, 75% of the students will forget to put a connection in this MySQL command. They are just putting some string and then type in their syntax. So in that case, it doesn't show any error, but it is a bug, because in the long run you will notice that there's an error. It will say that there's no connection, open connection, just like that, because you did not put the connection. Okay, so the best practice of this is once you put the open and close parentheses, just put your cursor in between that, and then put some comma to see what are the parameters that we are going to fill. Okay, so putting commas will give a hint like this. So that means on the left side, this and this side, this will be my syntax will be put, and on the right side is my connection. Since we already created a connection right here, that means I'm just going to call the variable con. Okay, so here inside my string syntax, this will be my syntax go. So select asterisk from db subjects. Okay, that was our table, right? db subjects. Okay, so I'm gonna select as all the columns from db subjects from what database. So from connection, which has database of db class. So they are linked together, they are connected. Okay, we're not done yet again. So since we have the command, we need to pass this command in our data reader. Okay, since we already have the data reader right here, we just have to pass the cd that we have been created. Okay, so just type in cd and then execute reader. Alright, so execute reader. So that means this dr right here that is being returned every time this get data is being called, it has already a syntax. Okay, because we assigned dr to a cd which has this syntax. Okay, so every time we call the get data function from some other classes or some other form, it will return dr which has this syntax. Okay, so we're done with the backend, we're done with the database operation. Now we are going to the list view. Okay, so here in our toolbox we need to okay, so we are good. Okay, so I just check my OBS because maybe we're not taking. Okay, so list view, I'm gonna drop my list view right here. Oopsie, it's not a list view, this one is a list view. Okay, so we have already the list view. So you know the drill. If your component is important, you need to first change the variable name, right? So here I'm gonna name this lb data or lb subjects. Means this is my list view for subjects. Okay, now once you're done with that, click this arrow right here and make it sure the view is in details. Okay, and then we have to edit the column, we have to add some column right here. So we have back to our database, we have two columns, right? The ID and the description. Okay, so I'm gonna add two columns, and then on the first column I'm gonna name this ID, and for the second column I'm gonna name this subject. Okay, let's click OK, and then there you have it. You have your ID already and subject. Now we want our this program to load some data right after it loads the form. Okay, just to do that, just double click this panel right here, and then it will generate some event form load. Okay, so here in this event we are going to populate the list view. Okay, so before we add some data from database, I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, so we have to populate this first using static data. That means we are going to add some data manually, not from database. Okay, so first you need an item, list view item. This item will be added to our list view. Okay, so call list view item and then name some variable, create some variable for that. I'm gonna name this L because new list view item. Okay, so that means inside this parenthesis, that means if I'm going to put 1 right here, this list view item should be in the first column. Okay, so let's try to run this one. What will happen? Alright, so there's nothing happen, right? Because although we have the item already, but we did not add that yet into our list view. Okay, so we have to add that one. Okay, so after this code, we need to call our LV subject, which is our list view item, and then dot items dot add, open close parentheses. Inside this one, we have to pass our variable L, which has 1. Okay, let's run this again, and then there you have it. Okay, so what if we need to add also data here in our subject? How are we going to do? Do we need to create new list view item? Nope. We just need to add sub items for this. Okay, that means since we already have the item, I'm gonna call that item L dot sub items that add, open close, and this area, in this parenthesis, this will be for the second column. Okay, so let's say for example IAS, okay, or IPT. Is if I run this one, it will add the IPT in our subject. Now, sir, what will happen if I add again another sub item? Let's say this is IAS. So what will happen? Let's run this one. Okay, so what happened was, it has already been added in our list view, but as I have said, the sub item is for another column, but we don't have another column right here. That is why it's not being added in our list view. Now, to make this work, let us add another column for this. Edit column and then add. Say for example, this column is let's just say status. Okay, so this is the column for our status. Let's run this one, and then IPT. There you have your status, which is the IS. Okay, so the one that we added right here, IS. So that's the work behind the scene of this list view. Now, what if we need to get the data from the database? Okay, so let's comment all of this, then let's start to do the database side. Okay, since we're going to get the DR, MySQL data reader, the get data function from our database operation, that means we need also a DR right here. That is going to be the container of your DR right here. Okay, so that means we're going to use also MySQL data reader right here. Data SQL client, then I have it. I'm going to create and declare another variable for that. So this will be my DR1 to minimize confusion. Although you can also use DR, but if you don't want to be confused, just use another variable for that. There are lots of variables to be chosen from. Okay. Okay, now the basic in database operation, you need to open every time you have a database operation, you have to open and close that database. Okay, so our connection. So to do that, to make our life easier, that is why we created our open and close. What happened? We don't have the open and close. Let's see. Okay, so because it is not in static, so we need to have this in static. Why? Because static means this function will become a class variable. Alright, so that means if that variable is in static, I can call that function because it is part of the class variable. Okay, open and of course close connection. Okay, so in between this guy, this is the term that we're going to call in dr1 is equals to database operation that get data. Okay, so the one that we have created. So here inside the get data, I am going to iterate all the data in our dr1. Okay, so while dr1 dot read, that means if there is a data, still data in our dr1, I'm going to loop and get all the data and then pass that into my list view. Okay, so now since we have this one, we need to do the list view item. Okay, list view item L equals new list view item. Okay, so as instead of having it in static, we are going to use the dr1. Okay, so dr1 open close bracket plus double quote. This serves as our converter. Okay, we have to convert our data from database into string. Okay, so this is equivalent to that to string. Okay, but to make it short, plus double quote. Then this is concatenation in our program. Okay, so here inside the bracket, I'm going to put some double quote also, and then since this is the first column, here inside the bracket, it is actually which column do you want to get. So I want to get first, of course, the sub id column. Okay, sub id. Okay, so after that one, as I have said a while back, for the next column we need to call the sub item, right? Sub item for the next column, that add open close, and then here inside again, I'm going to get the sub disk or description, sub disk. So basically, inside our bracket are the column name of your tables. Okay, so making sure that you are typing the correct spelling. Now since we have the items, we need to add that in our LB subjects list. So add M. Now let's try to run this one. Okay, so there you have it, Chodrick. You have your data being passed to our list view. Alright, so that's it for now. So on my next video, let's try to do some experiment in list view. We can actually remove item, we can select all of this. So real quick, let's change the setting so that we can select all the value. Okay, so here in our list view, you can actually resize this one. In the full row select, enable it. Okay? Make it true. Run so that we can select all the rows. Okay. Okay, so for the next features for this list view, I'm gonna do that on my next video. Okay, so I hope tutoring and friends, you can learn something from this tutorial. If you have any question, just comment in the comment box. Okay, so do not forget to share this if you have friends or more than friends that is also an IT student or hobbyist or a programmer that you want to help. You can suggest them into our channel, and they can request specific topic or specific function in our system. Alright, bye.